Have you ever forgotten something so completely it felt like it never existed at all? Tonight, I'll tell you about the time I was sent to demolish a chapel in London and found something buried beneath that doesn't just feed on the dead, it feeds on memory. Welcome back to Whispers in the Shadows. If you enjoy unsettling, first-person horror from the forgotten corners of Europe, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. I don't know how long I've been down here. Not really. There are clocks, but they don't tick. My phone still has battery, somehow, but it only shows one time, 3:33, that hasn't changed in days. Or hours. Or maybe minutes. All I know is I can't remember my own name. There's a notepad here. I've been writing things down, hoping that if I keep track, maybe it'll come back to me. I wrote, "You live at 83 Witherhall Street. Your name is Steven. You are a construction foreman." That was day one, but I can't picture the house. I don't know who Steven is. I keep hearing voices down the corridor. Sometimes they sound like me. Other times they sound like someone I used to know. I think I had a brother, or maybe a son. But all that's gone now, eaten. 3 weeks ago, maybe longer, I got a call from the firm. New contract. East London. Old site, Victorian Chapel. The kind of job nobody likes. Lot of stone, rusted beams, bad foundations. They wanted the crypt cleared out and the ground leveled. It was all hush-hush. Some real estate company had bought the lot. Luxury apartments, they said, always the same song. Heritage sensitivity, controlled demolition, don't dig too deep. I've heard it all before. The chapel sat at the corner of Whitechapel Road, boxed in by scaffolding and silence. No parish, no Sunday bells, just pigeons nesting in the rafters. The first time I walked through the doors, I remember the smell, dust, candle wax, and something older, like books left to rot in a flooded basement. There were no pews, no altar, just a black marble floor and a massive wooden cross splintered down the center. My boots echoed like I was walking in a tomb. I remember the men laughing about ghosts. Even Tony, our electrician, said it felt off, the kind of place where the shadows lean in when you're not looking. But I wasn't scared. I'd done crypts before. One in Norwich, one in Dublin. Both older than this. This one was different, though. It had been sealed, not boarded up, not collapsed. Sealed with iron plates bolted straight into the stone. And behind that, an entrance to something we weren't meant to open. I found it behind what used to be the altar. There was a false wall, thin, maybe an inch thick. I knocked, and it echoed like there was a chamber behind it. I didn't tell the others. God help me. I should have. But something about it called to me. I broke through with a crowbar. Behind it, a rusted iron door, no markings, no hinges. Just 2 words etched into the metal, so faint I could barely see them. Sanctus Mortuus, the Holy Dead. I didn't think twice. I'm not superstitious. I was raised on diesel fumes and heavy tools, not Bible verses. The door opened when I pushed. And down I went. The stairs were old stone, slick with something that smelled like iron. I held my phone up for light, but it barely cut through the dark. It wasn't just the absence of light. It was like the shadows were swallowing it. At the bottom was a chamber, empty, no coffins, no bones, just a room of stone, maybe 20 feet across, with pillars around the edges and what looked like a book stand in the center, and on it, a leather-bound tome. It sounds ridiculous now, like something from a Hammer horror film, but I swear, when I touched the book, it was warm, not room temperature. Warm. Alive. I opened it, and the pages whispered when I turned them. Not the paper, the names. Each page had a list of them. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Some old, some new, and on the third page I saw it. Steven Marlowe. Born 1978. Remembered by none. That's the name I wrote on the note. That's the name I think was mine. But when I saw it in that book, I didn't feel surprised. I felt expected. I left the crypt in a daze, didn't tell the crew what I found. I told myself it was just an old register, coincidence, but something had shifted. When I looked in the mirror that night, I didn't recognize the face. Same beard, same eyes, but the name, it felt borrowed. The next morning, I woke up with a headache, not the normal kind. This felt like I'd been dreaming with my eyes open all night. My phone alarm went off, and I didn't recognize the sound. I couldn't remember setting it. Couldn't remember why I had a note under my pillow that said, "You are Steven Marlowe? You work at the chapel site. Don't go back." I laughed, nervously. I thought maybe one of the lads was playing a prank. At work, things felt off. Tony asked if I was all right, said I'd seemed zoned out yesterday, but I didn't remember zoning out. In fact, I barely remembered yesterday at all. Just flashes, the chapel, the crypt, that book. I told myself I was just tired. I even booked a GP appointment. Thought maybe I had a concussion or stress or something. But things only got worse. That afternoon, I called for Andy, our site runner. He didn't respond. I shouted louder. Tony looked at me funny.
"Who's Andy?"
He said. I blinked. The new kid. Tall, dark hair. Drives the blue Vauxhall? Tony stared.
"Mate, we don't have a new kid. You sure you're not thinking of someone else?"
I looked around. No blue car, no new hires. I could have sworn Andy was real. I remembered him laughing at my jokes. I remembered giving him his high-vis. But now, nothing. That night, I found a photo in my wallet. Me, grinning next to a younger guy in a hard hat. Andy, first day on site, written on the back. The ink was smudged, but the face was gone. Just a gray blur where his head should be. I started keeping notes, every hour, on the hour, name, date, what I did that day. At first, it helped, but then the handwriting started changing. Sometimes it was neat and tidy, other times slanted, almost childlike. A few entries looked like they were written by someone else entirely, except they were all in my notebook. And always the same message appeared between the lines. You are being unremembered. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I dreamed of voices, not screams, whispers. They came from under the floorboards, from the walls, from the book. I tried to stay out of the chapel, but I kept finding myself inside, literally. One moment I'd be in my flat, brushing my teeth. The next, I'd be standing under that broken cross, dirt on my boots, no memory of leaving home. And the stairs down to the crypt, they were always open now. One morning, I found muddy footprints on the stone, mine, trailing in a circle, as if I'd walked down, then up, then back down again. over and over. And the book had new entries: Steven Marlowe, forgotten by Tony, forgotten by self, remembered by the dead. I slammed it shut, but when I looked away and back again, it was open to a new name. Andy, last name unknown, forgotten by all. I called my sister. At least, I think she was my sister. The number was saved under Emily, emergency. She answered, but when I told her who I was, she paused.
Sorry, who did you say?
Steven, I said. Steven Marlowe. Your brother. A silence then.
I don't have a brother.
The line went dead. I stopped going home after that. What was the point? I couldn't remember what home looked like. I slept in the chapel, beneath the pulpit, wrapped in insulation tarp. I started carving things into the stone with my knife. Dates, initials, warnings. You are real. Don't forget. They eat memory. The more I forgot, the more I tried to leave myself clues. But even those started changing. One carving now says, "You always belonged here." I didn't write that. I wasn't alone, at least not always. One night, as I sat in the crypt, staring at that cursed book, I saw movement in the corner. A figure, pale, lean, eyes black as coal, wearing a miner's coat, stained with age. He stepped into the light, though it didn't seem to touch him, more like it'd been around him, like water around a stone.
"You're staying,"
he said. His voice wasn't threatening, just final. I stood.
"Who the hell are you?"
He tilted his head.
"No one you remember."
He pointed to the book.
"But you knew me once. A long time ago."
He gave a tired smile.
"Did you think the dead lay quiet? That they just vanish?"
He tapped his temple.
"We only disappear when we're forgotten. Memory is life. And yours
He stepped closer.
is warm, soft, full of guilt."
I backed away. You're not real. He chuckled.
"Neither are you."
The man in the miner's coat didn't follow me. He didn't need to. Every time I tried to leave the chapel grounds, I'd wake up back inside. Sometimes in the pews, sometimes in the crypt. Once, I woke up inside the bell tower, clutching a rusted rope that hadn't rung a bell in a century. My boots were wet, but it hadn't rained. The whispers had grown bolder. Now they spoke in full sentences, mocking, questioning, pleading.
"Do you remember her name? What happened in 2004? Where were you the night your father died?
And worse.
Do you remember what you did?"
One morning, I found a new door in the crypt. It hadn't been there before. Carved into the stone arch were words I couldn't read, not at first. They looked like Latin, but shifted when I stared too long. Eventually, the meaning formed in my mind. What is not buried may never rest. Behind the door was a tunnel, not part of the original foundation, too narrow, too low. It twisted down into the earth, choked with dust and bone fragments. And beyond it, a chamber, circular, lined with alcoves. Each held a person, each perfectly still, eyes open, mouths open, as if frozen mid-scream. Their clothes spanned centuries: monks, chimney sweeps, nurses, bakers, children, all forgotten, all preserved. I couldn't tell if they were dead or just paused, like someone hit mute on their souls. In the center was a pit, black, endless. The man in the miner's coat stood at the edge. He turned, nodded.
They gave up fighting.
He said,
Now they keep the chapel standing. Mortar made of memory.
I asked him what this place was.
A reliquary.
He replied,
For the forsaken, for the ones the world moved on from, we are remembered only by those who shouldn't.
After that, time unraveled. One afternoon I sat down to rest. When I looked up, it was night. The moon was gone. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My voice, gone. Not hoarse, erased. The man in the coat returned.
You're almost ready.
I shook my head. No, I still remember who I am. I'm Steven Marlowe. I'm from Leeds. I paused. I had a sister, he smiled sadly.
You had a name, now you are a vessel.
Then he said something I'll never forget, even now, while I still cling to this last sliver of self.
We aren't here because we died, Stephen. We're here because we were abandoned.
I ran, out of the crypt, out of the chapel, out into the city, but the city didn't recognize me. No one met my eyes. ATMs rejected my cards. My reflection was blurry in glass. And every street led back to the chapel, no matter where I turned, no matter how far I walked. One day, or maybe night, it's hard to say, I returned to the chapel. It welcomed me now. The doors never locked. The lights flickered in patterns I understood, even though they didn't make sense. The book was open, a single page. It read, You are now remembered by us. You belong to the chapel. You are what holds the doors shut. I tried to scratch out the words, but the page bled, thick, dark ink, and as I watched, my name, Steven Marlowe, faded from the book and from my mind. I no longer sleep. I no longer wake. I exist in the space between. Time is a sound here. It drips faintly, persistently from cracks in the stone ceiling above me. Each drop, a moment lost, each moment, a name fading from the pages of my life. Sometimes I find fragments, a red balloon tied to a railing, a smell, motor oil and chalk, the sound of someone saying "Dad" in the dark, but I no longer know what any of it means. Who was the balloon for? Why does the name Kylie make my chest ache? I don't know. I can't ask. There is no one left to answer. The man in the miner's coat is gone. Or maybe I've taken his place. I wear something like his now, a coat made of silence and memory. I walk the tunnels, keep the lights low, guide the new ones when they arrive. They always arrive confused, angry, clutching the last threads of their identity like a map through fog. But the fog always wins, and I am its usher, its caretaker. Let me tell you what I've learned. You don't disappear all at once. It happens in pieces, like a book burning one page at a time. First goes your last name, then your birthday, the names of your parents, where you lived, what you feared. Until all that remains is a vague sense of having been, not lived, not loved, just existed. That's what the chapel preserves. not souls, not ghosts, just existence. We are the mortar now, holding up forgotten walls, keeping out a world that no longer cares. A single phrase, etched into the back of a pew, scrawled with something not quite ink. To be remembered is to be real. I do not know who wrote it. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was the first. Maybe it was the chapel itself. But I hold on to it like a lifeline, because even if I am no longer Steven Marlowe, even if my name has been swallowed by the walls, you've heard me. And for one moment, I was real again. If you remember my name by the end of this video, then maybe I'm not lost yet. Tell me in the comments, what would you do if your past began to vanish, piece by piece? Until next time, stay safe and beware the places history tried to forget.